All right, so I've taken a little bit of a hiatus, but I'm back to give you some more videos and some more advice on Burning Man as a whole. This video is about how to not get arrested. So that's probably the most important video that you're going to watch. And don't ask why I put it off, but I did. So one thing you need to know is don't be dumb. There are still laws. We are still in Reno. We're going up into other parts of Nevada, and you're still a part of the U.S., so you need to be obeying the laws as much as you possibly can, especially before you even get into Burning Man, because that's still the real world. Even the tiny cities that are right outside, it's still the real world, and there are still laws that apply. So, just because you're in this kind of amazing community doesn't mean that you can't get arrested. That's the most important thing to remember. Just don't be dumb. So when you're in Reno and onward, I would say obey the traffic laws even more so than the other cities. Not to say that you shouldn't be obeying them all the way up, but there's a lot of cops. It's one way for Nevada to gain money from this particular event is to pull people over for probable cause. So we want to make sure that, they don't have a cause to pull you over and there's no reason to pull you over. So always be paying attention to the speed limit. And if you can, have somebody watching the speed limit signs while you are driving. Because they do change and they get they're about like 25 to 15 miles an hour in some of the tinier cities that you go through, and you need to change and adapt to that and be sticking literally to the T, because they will pull you over very quickly. And I'm not even talking about a speed limit 1 mile over. I'm saying that if it says 25, you better be going 24, and that's that. It does take a little bit longer, but you're going to be happier because you will notice when you're driving in that there are multiple people getting pulled over on the way there. And you don't want to be one of those people. So, like I said, pay attention to the speed limit signs. Get gas before you leave Reno. Get a full tank, because depending on how long it takes to get into the event and how long it takes to get out, you don't want to break down and have to be dealing with the police in that way. Also, you just don't want to break down in general, and you need a full tank to get there and out without an issue. So when you get to the gates, there's different speed limits given where you are. So I can't really remember, but basically you're going to be wanting to pay attention as they change. So at first it's probably going to say 15 miles per hour. And then once you get past a certain point, when you're making your way in, it's going to say 10 miles an hour. And then once you get past those gates, it's going to be 5 miles an hour once you're actually in the event itself trying to find a place to park. And that is complete fair game for the police to pull you over. And they have probable cause if you are going past the speed limit. I've watched multiple people get pulled over at these points, and it's very scary to watch because they're really paying attention to how quickly you're going, and they will pull you over, and that's when they have probable cause to really search your car. And they're going to give you a ticket, so you just want to make sure that you're avoiding all of that. Just go the speed limit, even if it's 5 miles an hour, which is going to feel like a snail's pace because you've just been going a very high speed limit to get there. But you really need to be paying attention to that and having, again, a friend pay attention for you so you can focus on the road. Don't hide anyone in your RV that doesn't have a ticket. At one point there is a checkpoint where they will have somebody come up to your car, ask you for your tickets. It's individuals that are associated with Burning Man, so you really shouldn't be scared of them. They're checking to see that you have the same amount of tickets for the same amount of people that are in your RV or in your car or whatever you're taking. So make sure that you have the same amount of tickets per people you bringing, and make sure that you have a parking pass so that you can avoid all unnecessary issues. Sometimes they will come around and want you to open up all of the bottom cabinets on the outside of an RV. And that's again to make sure that there aren't stowaways or animals or anything like that. They're really just peeking their head in. They're not really looking for anything. And same if they come into the RV. They might open up a cabinet or two. They might open, the bathroom door or open up a drawer. So just be cognizant. They're not really looking for anything other than a person or an animal. So just make sure that you're being cognizant of how you're packing and things like that, so that they can maneuver around as they need to, and that you can get out of that situation as quickly as possible. What else? Let's see. Make sure before you leave Reno, or before you leave in general, make sure that, especially if you've rented from someone else, that the tags are up to date, that the license plate is up to date, that all of the lights work on the car, because again, if there's any probable cause to pull you over, they can and they probably will, especially if you're driving in at night and one of your lights isn't working. So just make sure that you're checking all of this before you take off. A lot of different vehicles, when they're from a rental service, for whatever reason, don't always update their tags. I've noticed this with like Enterprise and stuff. So just make sure that you're paying attention, because it's your livelihood and then they have reason to pull over. And also make sure that everything's visible. So, wiping off things, making sure that things are visible on the car, that the lights are visible, they're not covered with dust. Especially when you're on your way out, make sure that you're covering, at least wiping them off, so that you can see and they're actually being used for what they're supposed to be being used for. If you get caught in a dust storm on your way into the event and you cannot see a certain feet ahead of you, you need to stop driving completely and put your hazards on. Because what's going to happen is, if you can't see in front of you, neither can the person that's behind you, neither can the person that's in front of you, and the odds of a collision go up astronomically if you're not paying attention. So just stop what you're doing, and usually a dust storm will go away within like 5 to 10 minutes, or at least it will become to the point where you feel safe enough to continue onward. And there's different times of day that usually happens. I want to say like 1 to 5 is a time when dust storms seem to occur a lot, but they can happen at any time. So just stop, calm it down, take a minute. The way that the gate works is that you'll be in line, and then I think it's every 30 minutes they'll allow a certain amount of cars in, and then everybody will move up. And then they'll wait 30 minutes, check everything, and then let that next group in. So you're only going to feel like if you're in the line, that you're moving every like 30 minutes. But it's actually taking about the same amount of time. They just have a different process for that. Once you're actually at Burning Man, unfortunately or fortunately, we have police within the event to keep everybody safe. So one part of that is that they are dressed as burners. I've had people tell me that there's been police that have been almost completely fully naked and have been actual police that are undercover trying to make sure that everything's okay. The issue with that is that if you bring them back to your RV, then they have, again, probable cause to search your vehicle or search your RV because you've invited them into your space. So just pay attention to that. Be talking to people, obviously, and have an open heart and talk to whoever you want. But be very careful of who you invite back to your RV. And this is also goes, especially if you're female, but even if you're male, of inviting people that are strangers back to your personal space. There are bad people that go to Burning Man, and there are bad things that happen, especially to women at Burning Man if you're not careful. So never invite a complete stranger back to your RV unless, somebody else knows them, unless you've spent a few days with them. You've seen where they're camping, and they actually seem like a legit person that's not going to hurt you, steal from you, or that they're the police, trying to come and search your RV and things like that. If you are in a camp, if you even bring back supposedly anybody that's from the police into your camp, then they actually have probable cause to go into any RV within your camp. So you need to be very cognizant of who, again, you're allowing to come back into your personal space. For many reasons, really, because a lot of things get stolen too, and you don't want anything stolen from you just because you allowed a bad person to come back. What else? Don't do anything in public that you shouldn't. Obviously, being naked is a little bit different. At Burning Man, that is allowed, but don't be doing anything stupid in public that, again, there's a lot of cops that are undercover. They're paying attention to what you're doing. So don't be going to the bathroom in places that you shouldn't be going to the bathroom. Don't be having sex in places where you shouldn't be having sex. And also, don't be doing drugs where you shouldn't be doing drugs, or, if that's your lifestyle, keep that behind closed doors, because again, you're just kind of allowing, people to see you in that atmosphere, and some of those people are police. And although we are open to a lot of different things at Burning Man, that doesn't mean that you can just have sex in open venues. You still need to be very cognizant that there are children around, that this is a family event as well as a personal journey, and keeping it as clean as you can while also being as expressive as you can. So that's another thing. And you can always, if you're talking to a police officer, you can always say that you don't consent to a search. You can always keep your mouth shut, answer the questions as they get asked of you very briefly. And then if you ask them if you're free to go and they say yes, then go. Don't say another word, just calmly walk away. So that's one thing that you can do if you are talking to a police, is ask them if you're free to go. And if that's the case, then you are allowed to leave. So that's all I can think of for now. I'm sure there's other things, but honestly, the largest thing to remember is, 1, to not be dumb, and 2, to follow the speed limit to the T, if not below. So if you're going 5 miles an hour, really make sure that you're going 5 and not 6. I personally went like 4 miles an hour in that circumstance. And when it was 10 miles an hour, I was going 8. So just be paying attention to that while you are on your way to Burning Man. And hopefully you will have a wonderful event where you don't get arrested or hurt. That's another thing about making sure that Burning Man is fun, is to not get hurt. But pay attention, and perhaps I'll make a video on how to not get hurt next. All right. Bye, everyone.